What's up, DC Nation? Welcome back to another video of The Flash. Now, today we're going to be covering the return of Barry Allen. And this is the second big storyline in Mark Waid's Flash run, and it runs from issue number 75 through 79. But I'm not just covering those issues, I'm actually going to throw in issue number 73 and 74. And the reason I'm doing that is because issue number 73 is a very Christmas-themed issue, and it shows the relationship between Jay Garrick and Wally West, which is very important because Jay Garrick being the first Flash and Wally West being the third Flash, them getting to know each other and you seeing that relationship really impacts both of them as you dive into the return of Barry Allen, alright? Because Barry Allen, he returns. Spoiler alert. And it's a very interesting story. But I feel like issue number 73, it sets it up, but issue number 74 even sets it up even more, right? Because issue number 74 builds off of the story from issue number 73 and establishes that relationship between Barry and Wally once again, preparing you for the 5-part story of the return of Barry Allen. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and by the way, the first issue, number 73, it being like a Christmas-themed issue, I feel like it fits the time right now, because it's only been like 2 days since Christmas, and I hope you guys all had a great Christmas day, a great holiday, spent time with family and friends. I did, it was fun, and I hope by me releasing this video, for all you guys Flash fans, you enjoy it, and it ends off your year on great notes, alright? Because we have a lot of new storylines of The Flash from Mark Waid's run that I'll be diving into next year, 2021, alright? But yeah, guys, before we get into the story, here's a quick recap of where we are in Wally West The Flash's history. Now, up to this point, what we see in this run is we had the very first Flash, Jay Garrick. Then we had the second Flash, Barry Allen. Now, Barry Allen, he got a sidekick, right? He got Wally West, and Wally became Kid Flash. Now, Barry taught Wally how to face through walls, how to use his speed, how to fight against crime. And Barry was a great mentor to Wally. Wally looked up to him, but Wally also looked up to his aunt, Iris. So Wally had these two figures, Iris and Barry, who were actually married at this time, and he really had a great time with them, right? But one day, a crisis struck the multiverse, and we had the Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of DC's very first crisis-level events. Now, the Anti-Monitor, he came, and all these heroes banded together to fight off against him. He was an all-powerful being. Now, Barry got into a situation that he had to run so fast to fight off against the Anti-Monitor. And Barry ran so fast, he disintegrated. He died. So, with Barry dead, Wally found his costume, and he remembered that moment. And at that moment, Wally became the new Flash. Now, Wally struggled at first. Yes, he had Jay Garrick, but Jay Garrick was off on his own. And Wally was on his own as well. Jay Garrick had other things to do. And Wally tried to form this new life. Now, Wally got a girlfriend, Linda Park. He was actually settling down. He was doing great. He was becoming a good Flash. He fought off against Gorilla Grodd, Dr. Alchemy. He started to get to know other heroes like Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. He was having a good life. So now that Wally has established himself as the one true Flash, the protector of the Twin Cities, the Central and Keystone, he's about to experience Christmas without his mentor, Barry Allen. This is the first time without him. So he's going to deal with a lot of things. We're really going to the mind of Wally West, and from there, we'll see the storyline that redefines his character, makes Wally West popular, and makes him the character that all of us Flash fans love. So, if you guys are ready, let's dive into the return of Barry Allen. We begin on Christmas Eve. It's December 24th. And Wally West and Linda Park are just trying to set up the tree. They're trying to set up for Christmas. And Wally, what's funny about this part is that Wally, he's being a perfectionist, right? He's trying to set up, make it look nice, and he's spending like so much time on making this tree look good, right? Now Linda, she's just chilling on the couch, but she gets up and tries to stop him. She says, "Will you just leave it be?" And he is startled, guys, because he is so focused that he was not aware of his surroundings. Now Linda says, "Broke your concentration? Good. Read my lips, Wally. There's nothing wrong with the tree." And then he starts just walking away. And she says, "Why can't you just sit still for a change?" And Wally says, "I'm bored." And Linda says, "Then go help Joanne. Some of us are trying to watch football." And that's when we see Wally. He goes into the kitchen and he talks to Joanne. Joanne is the wife of Jay Garrick. Now, Wally says, can we open presents now? And that's when Joanne says, after dinner, sweethearts. And he walks away. Jay Garrick says, he's like the son we never had, isn't he? Joanne responds, I'm so glad he and his little girlfriend are here, Jay. It feels like a real family Christmas. That's when Wally walks back in and says, anything I could do to help? And Joanne says, nothing, dear. He walks away. Jay says, and energetic. He's awfully energetic. And Joanne says, I love him dearly. He's always so well-meaning. Wally walks in again and says, you're sure? It would go so much faster with me. And that's when Joanne says, I'm sure, dear. He walks away. That's when Joanne goes up to Jay and says, get him out of the house before I kill him. And Jay then laughs a little bit. He's like, gotcha. Now that's when we see Jay. He grabs Wally. He says, come on, Junior. Let's go put some peace on Earth. That's when we start running out. And Wally says, I heard that. They run out as the Flash is. Wally's in the Flash costume. Jay is in his Golden Age costume. It's a really great opening to this issue. Now they keep running, and Wally says, been a long time since you and I have celebrated the season together, hasn't it? And Jay says, too long. I missed you, Junior. You've really grown up. New life, new costume, a stay girl. That Linda's really something. What's under the tree for her? Joanne thought maybe a ring, and Wally says, whoa, no. Even I move only so fast. We're only just now figuring out where this relationship is going. You know how I hate to rush things. And that's what Jay says, oh please. Fine, let's change the subject. What does Wally West want for Christmas? And Wally and Jay run into this building, right? And Wally says, I don't know. Jay responds, really? Somehow I expected more enthusiasm. And Wally says, it's weird. Getting older, you know? And that's when we see all these people just startled. They see the flashes. And Jay says, is it? And Wally says, well, yeah. When you're a kid, Christmas is about presents. All it takes to make you happy is that really cool baseball mitt. And he continues, but growing up changes everything. In time, another December rolls around and boom, Christmas suddenly stops being about Santa and starts being about family and friends. And Jay smiles and says, and isn't that the way it should be? And that's when we see them all. They're passing out food to people. They're shoveling snow to help out with this man. They're helping out people around the city. And Wally says, oh, absolutely. And Jay says, but? And Wally says, but I hope I can say this without sounding like a spoiled jerk. But there's this tiny part of me that misses the thrill of the baseball mitt, you know? And he continues, the older I become, the further away I get from the idea that amid all the sweaters and handkerchiefs, Santa still tags something special just for me. Now in the distance, we see this woman. She's crossing the street, and a car is about to hit her. The car honks its horn. You hear a beep beep, and that's what Jay looks. And Wally says, one simple, perfect gift that's going to knock my socks off. Excuse me. Now we see Wally. He saves this woman from getting hit by a car. The car booms off to the side, and the woman falls to the ground. She's crying, and Jay says, nice spotting, Junior. And Wally says, thanks, Jay. This woman's delirious. That's when they go to a church. He holds the woman in his hands. Wally says, Joey, is that somebody we could call? And the woman says, no, I have to stop him before it's too late. They walk into the church, and Wally says, slow down. Too late for what? Who is Joey? This woman is just saying random things. She's like, Joey, it's too late. And Wally's trying to figure out the situation. Now, the woman says, he's my husband. He works part-time at Boone's department store. But tonight's his last night. And he can't find other work. He's tried so hard, but nobody's hiring. And she continues, Joey's never done anything bad. But he met some men. And they talked him into helping rob the store's night deposit after closing. He says he's got no choice. Says he has to provide for his family. I told him he can't provide for anybody if he's in prison. but and then she starts to scream. She's going into labor, and Wally says, my god, Jay, this poor girl is in labor. We've got to get her to the hospital. And Jay Garrick says, at super speed, I wouldn't be moving her under any circumstances, Junior. If the baby were to shift, believe me, she'll be safer if we bring the doctors to her. We see Jay Garrick, he brings certain doctors into the church, and that's when the doctors say, that's it, dear, you're doing fine. The other doctor says, breathe, breathe. Jay says, so, me or you? And Wally says, me. You stay here with her. I'll help Joey. It's getting pretty rugged out there. Gonna be able to find your way back? And Wally says, oh yeah, totally. Wally's like, piece of cake. We can do this really quickly. Now, Wally keeps running off, and he makes it to the place where Joey is at, right? At Boone's department. Now, at this place, you see all these people. The place is packed. And Wally, he's kind of like, I did not expect this. He's like, I thought this would be quick. I'm the fastest man alive. All I gotta do is find Joey. But, I gotta search through all these people now. So, he sees all these people. He says, oh boy. And he starts going through people and trying to see which one is Joey. He's pretty much looking through their IDs, right? Now, he goes through every single person. And he actually passes by Santa. Now, Santa says, sorry, son, Santa Claus is due back at the North Pole. And the boy says, but Santa, and he puts up the sign, Santa will be back soon. Now, Wally keeps going. He says, this is taking forever. He's like, he's got to be somewhere. He can't find Joey. Now, that's what he keeps running. And he keeps looking, and he finds this woman. And he says, Santa, where is he? And the woman says, Joey? I don't know, I think he knocked off for the night. Say, aren't you a little old for it? And that's when Wally says, no, it's fine. He keeps running, and what Wally discovers is that Joey is actually Santa. So Wally was looking through everybody in this mall, and he wasn't expecting for Joey to be Santa. But now all he has to do is find Joey and stop him from doing something that he'll regret for the rest of his life. You see Joey. He's in the deposit room. He takes off the Santa beard. He has a sack. He says, forgive me. He gets a crowbar. He cracks the door open, and he sees all the money. Now he starts packing the money in his sack, and he starts to walk out the door. He says, I love you, Maria. Just know that this is all for the best. It's for the best. And he gets out. But as he's walking, you see this boy, the same boy who wanted to talk to Santa. And the boy says, Santa, there you are. You didn't hear what I wanted. And that's when Joey says, oh jeez, kid, you can't be here. You got to go. And the boy says, but Santa, please, it's not for me. It's for my mommy. She's so sad all the time. You got to bring her something nice. And Joey says, well, what about your dad? He'll take care of your mom. And the boy says, no, I wrote it in my letter, Santa. Don't you remember? That's why my mommy's so sad. Daddy's not with us anymore. He's in jail. And Joey looks at the sack, and he puts it down. But you see these men, they drive up, and Joey says, alright, let's go, find your mom. First, though, Santa's got to put something back where he found it. But the men step out of the car, and the robbers say, where you going, Joey? And the other man says, that's some bundle of goodies you got there, slung over your back. Surely you can find something in there for us. And Joey says, listen, I can't do this. This is wrong. Now, the men say, yeah, feels right to me, Joey. We got too much at stake to leave without that bankroll, bud. And they take out a gun, and they say, reconsider if you want, but bear in mind, this don't have to be no silent night. Now, Joey says, run. The kid starts to run, and the men take out a gun. They say, wrong move, Joey. Burn them, boys. They start to shoot. You hear a braka braka, and you hear different shots going through the night. But Wally West runs in. He deflects the shots and avoids Joey. Joey survives. Now, the men say, nothing happened. I don't get it. He should be dead. And Wally West says, wow, there's Christmas spirit for you. Santa hands out lumps of coal for talk like that. Me, I just hand out lumps. He starts to punch him in the face. And what we see next is Wally West. He gets all of them tied up. And Wally says, where you headed, Joey? And Joey says, I have to take something back and make some apologies. Now, Wally says, you leave that to me. I know what happened here tonight, Joey. and I'll smooth things over. Once I helped Shorty here find his mother. You got other things to attend to, like a wife and a child? And Joey says, Maria, she must be worried. Child? He says, where? And Wally says, that way, 2 blocks over. Go. You can't miss it. Trust me. Now, Joey starts to run. He says, Maria, Maria, where are you? Maria. He gets to the snow. He makes it to the church. He says, Maria? He walks in. Jake Eric smiles. And you see the family. They're together. You see Joey, Maria, and they have their child. And they have a good life once again. Now, that's when we shift, and we're in the epilogue, right? And we are at the house of Jake Eric and Joanne. Now, Wally is just on the couch with Linda Park, and Wally says, Joey's doing fine. His manager didn't let him off. He should be good. And Linda says, wow, pretty understanding manager. And that's what Jay says, yeah, well, chalk up to the season, I guess. And that's what Wally says, and Jay, well, wild man, pulling in doctors, bringing in equipment, talking Maria through the delivery, you were a godsend. And Jay says, the baby was a godsend, Junior. I was just along for the ride. And Jay smiles with Joanne. Now, Jay then says, it's gotten awfully late, hasn't it? Maybe we should just open all these presents tomorrow. What do you think, Joanne? And Joanne says, there's an idea. And that's when Linda yawns. She says, I'm with you, Jay. And that's when Wally is like, what the heck? I'm gonna open some presents. And Linda then gives a present to him. It says, yeah, what's a face like that was? Relax, Red. We're just pulling your chain. Here from me to you. And Wally gets the present. He starts to open it. He says, doesn't shake. What could it be? And Linda says, I really didn't know what to get you, Wally. I hope you like it. Wally opens it up, and he sees a baseball mitt. And she says, is it good? And Wally says, it's perfect. Come here, you. And they embrace each other. And that's when Linda says, the mistletoe's over there, you know? And Wally says, who cares? What a kiss. I hear bells. And you hear a ding dong. The doorbell rings. Somebody is at the door. And Linda says, you hear a doorbell? You want to get that? And Jay says, who could that be this time of night? And Joanne says, I don't know. Maybe Santa's decided to forego that chimney this year. Wally, are you expecting a visit from the man in red? And Wally says, are you kidding? I can't imagine anything he could bring me that would be better than what I've already gotten. Now, Wally opens the door, and he says, who is it? And Linda says, then again, and you see Barry Allen. He walks to the door, he says, Merry Christmas all, and they all scream, Barry? And that's how he ends issue number 73. Wally West is just surprised. He sees Barry Allen at his door, and he recalls past events. He says, I'll tell you what I recall. I recall thinking that life is fragile and that it goes by too fast. You see Wally with the Flash costume at the day of Barry Allen's death. Now, that's what continues. On that otherworldly Terran, the Psycho Pirate babbled something about my Uncle Barry, the Flash, sacrificing his life to save the universe. Transformed into a being of pure energy, Barry vanished, leaving only an empty costume behind to mark his passing. In tribute, I adopted his name and identity, and over the years made peace with his memory. He was the greatest hero I have ever known, and I was proud to follow in his footsteps. And then a week ago, he turned up alive. It was too good to be true. Too good. And you see Barry Allen with Hal Jordan and Jake Eric. Now, Barry says, gotta tell you, Hal, for a guy who's supposedly fearless, you sure spook easily. And that's when Hal says, what'd you expect, buddy? Call me up out of the blue like that? I thought you were dead. Now you're here in the flesh, how? And that's when Barry starts to tell them, I'm not sure myself. Apparently, during Wally's battle with that new Dr. Alchemy, the Alchemist, my energy somehow reformed itself, restoring my humanity. So guys, do you remember when Wally and Alchemy were fighting in issue number 72, we saw Dr. Alchemy actually shoot a blast and lightning appear, and somebody started running. That was actually Barry Allen. Now Barry says, but my memory is not really here. I wandered for days and frantically trying to clear the cobwebs. And just when I'd reached the absolute edge of hope, I stumbled across an old familiar sight. he sees a statue of the Flash. He starts to cry, and he hears a lightning, a cracoom, and Wally says, and then I remembered. Once I realized who I really was, I snared an old Flash costume from the Flash Museum and went looking for Wally and Jay. And here I am. And Hal Jordan says, so this amnesia, it's gone? And Barry says, mostly. Details were just before I vanished. Seem hazy. I remember being on trial for manslaughter. Then, something then that final mission. Seems like I ought to have more to say for myself. And Wally thinks, yes you should. Wally's very suspicious, guys. And Hal says, relax. It'll come to you in time. What's important is that you're here now. That's when Wally thinks, I want to buy into all this, but something is missing. After a week of explanations, there's still one thing you haven't said a word about, and Hal says, you want a verdict. And Wally says, well, and Hal says, he's got two things going for him. The ring says he's telling the truth, and so do I. I understand your hesitation, Wally. Superheroes live in a world of shape-shifters and mind-benders. Our enemies would stoop lower than this to torment us. But Barry Allen was my best friend. I knew him at least as well as you did. And I tell you in all honesty, he's for real. Now, Hal then gets into his costume and he says, take it from a man who's seen his fair share of miracles. They don't come easy or often. Embrace them. Don't be afraid of them. Have you told him you're not Kid Flash anymore? And Wally says, no. Soon. Today. And Hal says, do it. I think he's ready for it. Now, Hal starts to walk out the door, and he says, so long, fellas. Green Lantern would love to stay and chat, but Hal Jordan's been contracted to pilot a flying New Year's party for a Texas high roller. See you soon, Barry, and don't worry, this will be our secret. Now, Wally says secret, and that's when Jay Garrick says secret, and Barry says, I've asked him to keep a lid on my return, not to mention it to the rest of the Justice League just yet. If anybody, my parents deserve to know first. But how do I handle that? Run up to them and say boo? And Joanne says, not hardly. Barry, trust me. It could be a quiet shock to see a long-lost loved one at your doorstep. And Jay Garrick says, maybe we should talk to them, prepare them for the shock. And Jay then says, Barry? And Barry says, do you believe this? Look, walking down the street in broad daylight, it's the Pied Piper. And Wally says, chill, Barry, it's not what you think. Now, Barry gets to his costume and he runs up on the Pied Piper. And Barry says, alright, Piper, I don't know what you're up to this time. And Piper says, Flash? And Wally comes up and stops him. And Barry says, but you're going back to jail where you belong. And Wally says, I said it's not what you think, okay? And Pied Piper says, Wally, if you're not him, then... And Pied Piper says, Flash, the old Flash, you're back. But I thought you were, and Barry says, yeah, there's a lot that going around. Can I talk to you for a second? And Barry says to Wally, he called you by name. Your identity is public, and Wally says that's the way it goes these days. Times change, Barry, and so do people. Piper's gone legit. We're friends, and I trust him. Now, Wally says, what's up, Chief? And Piper says, we're on the grapevine. There's a new boss in town, and he's brought in 3 pro snipers to snuff Handsome Giacomo tonight. Oh jeez, Giacomo gets whacked. This whole city will blow wide open in a gang war. Thanks for the tip. Just give me a second to suit up. Now, Wally comes out as the Flash, and Wally says, and I'll put an end to this mess. And he thinks, whoops. Well, so much for breaking this one to him gently. Last time Barry saw me, I was wearing the yellow and red of Kid Flash. He knows I've grown up since then, but this is the first time he's seen just how much. He's surprised. That much is written all over his face. Now, Barry says, nice suit. And Wally says, but he's hiding it well. Passing judgment never was the style. Now, Barry says, join us, Jay. And Jay Garrick says, the 3 of us together again could be fun. And Joanne says, oh no, you don't, Jay Garrick. If you think you're staying up your own wife on New Year's Eve, you got another thing coming. And Jay says, my thoughts exactly, dear. You took the words right out of my mouth. Now, he starts to walk away, and Barry says, so, Wally, call yourself the Flash these days, do you? And Wally says, yes, sir. They start to run, and Barry says, good name. big boots to fill, though. And Wally says, yeah. And Barry says, let's see if you got what it takes. Come on. They run super fast. And Wally says, about the costume, I can't explain. And Barry says, about what? Maybe the eyes, take some getting used to. Me, I think people trust you more when they see your eyes. But you're an adult now. Wally, you do things your way. Now, Wally thinks, wow, how Barry's like nice sentiments. If you really are who you say you are. Now, Wally says, I see you're still got that vibrating through solid objects thing down cold. And Barry says, yeah, and you? And Wally says, we got more catching up to do than I thought. So Wally, still being suspicious, is now starting to see things clear up, right? Because you guys don't remember, Barry taught Wally how to phase through walls. One of the first things he ever taught him. And seeing Barry can still do that proves that he's actually Barry Allen. Now, they keep running, and Wally says, Central City Amusement Park has two claims to fame. Not only is it the largest, most elaborate park at the state, but every New Year's Eve, weather permitting, the entire place is rained out by one very eccentric, very wealthy man, Handsome Jack Giacomo. And that's when he says, the vainest man crime. Now, Giacomo says, Diaz. And his bodyguard says, right here, sir. And Giacomo says, how's my hair? And the bodyguard responds, perfect as always, sir. Now, that's when they say, hey, do you look behind you? And Giacomo looks. And Wally says, don't you ever get tired of looking at that face, Jack? I know I do. And the bodyguards scream, the Flash! They says, he's after the boss, get him! And Wally says, with what? Looks to me like your men need to practice their quick draw, Giacomo. So Wally pretty much dismantles all the guns so they have a good talk, right? And Giacomo says, what's this? There's two of you now. And Wally says, cut the small talk, Jack. Word's out that you're a marked man. We got to get you out of here. And Giacomo says, what? And leave the park? No. Jack Giacomo ain't one to break with tradition. Who do you think put the word out, Twinkle Toes? Me. Because I trusted you to come running. And that's when he walks away. And he says, now that you're here, you won't let nothing happen to Jack Giacomo. Protecting honest businessman like myself, that's your job. And that's when Wally says, did you hear him? That arrogant son of a... And Barry says, I hear him. And he's right. Like it or not, keeping him alive is our job. So let's get to it. Now they start to run, they run through the entire amusement park, and they take out the first sniper. You see the sniper, and that's when Wally takes him out, and actually takes him out right before he's about to shoot. You hear a crack. Now, Wally keeps running. He says, going down, and you hear a boom. He tosses one of the snipers into this whole, like, a bunch of stuffed animals. Now, Wally says, what a ride, huh? Better than Bungie, man. And Barry says, oh sure, thanks, on me, you sissy. Now they keep running, and they look around. Now, Barry comes upon this other sniper. And the sniper has his gun ready for this one ride. Now, that's when he starts seeing the ride is actually going. But it's actually Barry running at top speed. Now the guy says, huh? Hey, this ride ain't supposed to be moving. Turn it off, man, turn it off. Barry takes down this other sniper. Now, that's when they keep running. And Barry says, and that's two, and Wally says, no sign of the third still. He's got to be squirreled away somewhere. The handsome Jack will be sure to go, but where? And they say, they look, it's the mirror room, the mirror maze. Now they run in, they say, where else? And Wally says, nuts. I was afraid of this. Despite our combined speed, it might take longer to track the final assassin than I figured. Now they keep going through the mirror maze. It's a very tricky situation. Wally keeps hitting the mirrors, you hear that cush, and you hear a check, and Wally keeps looking, but he can't find the sniper. Now the sniper inside points his gun at Jack Giacomo, about to shoot him. But that's when Wally hits through the mirror, takes down the sniper, you hear a brada, the gun's shots go off, and you hear a crash. Wally takes down the sniper, and Wally says, look out! And Barry actually catches Giacomo just in time to save him. And Wally says, Happy New Year, Jack, how's your hair? And Giacomo says, shut up! And that's when they save him. And Giacomo says, you can leave those three with us. The boys take care of them. And Wally says, oh please, your idea of due process is sleeping with the fishes. We're taking them to the cops. And when we come back, you and I are going to talk about this new boss in town. Now, Wally says, Flash, you want to give me a hand there? And Barry says, you can handle it. I have to go. And he runs off. He says, I'll catch up with you later. And Wally says, wait, what got into him all of a sudden? Now, Wally chases after him, and we see Barry. He's at the gravestone of Iris West. If you guys don't remember, Iris is dead. Now, Barry, he's at the gravestone. He says, I know, a whole week. And I'm just now getting here. That's me, always late. He sets down flowers. He sees New Year's fireworks going off. He says, you'll never guess what finally nudged me. It was seeing that old Ferris wheel, the one we were riding when I asked you to marry me. You gave me hell that night about being so corny, but you accepted, didn't you? And Barry puts his hands in his eyes. He starts to cry. He says, you made me so happy, Iris. You said we'd be together forever. I love you, and I miss you. He looks with tears in his eyes, and he says, you should see your nephew. Sweethearts, he's become quite a man. You'd be proud of him. No doubt about it. Wally's got your fire and a healthy dose of your reported skepticism. My resurrection has really thrown him. He has no faith in me, that I'm really me. I wish I could earn his trust. And Wally runs up and he says, you just did. I'm sorry, Barry. Sorry for not believing. You have to understand, putting the spirit of Barry Allen to rest was a long and painful process. Your death left a wound that never healed. So when you showed up out of nowhere, it didn't thrill me. It scared me. And Barry says, you were afraid it was some kind of cruel trick. Barry puts his hand on Wally. And Wally, looking down, says, to start, yeah. Then the more that went by without you bringing up Aunt Iris, well, it just made me that much more suspicious. Well, why haven't you talked about her? And Barry says, because I was angry, Wally. Not at her, but at, I don't know, fate. At how unfair it was that I'd come back and she hadn't. That a few minutes from now, I'd have to start a new year. A new life without her. But maybe I don't. Not really. I can't shake this feeling that she's not as far away as I think she is, and that we will be together again. Now, Barry and Wally look at the fireworks, and Barry says, yeah, and Wally says, so life goes on. And Barry says, that's right. Whatever the reason, Wally, I've been given a second chance, an opportunity to live the rest of my years the way I lived the best of my years. Care to join me? He puts on the cowl of the Flash, and Wally says, try to stop me. And you see Wally and Barry, they run off. They're happy. It's New Year's. You see fireworks in the background. Wally once again has his mentor. He's alive, well, but something is off. And that's how we end issue number 74 of The Flash. A new crime boss has struck Keystone City, and with it he has his different goons going throughout the city and causing trouble against the Flash, right? Now we open up in the daytime, we see Wally West and Jay Garrick teaming up, and these goons with these huge weapons, these guns, are on top of this train that's just going out of control. They're shooting, and Wally's trying to stop this, right? Now Wally keeps running, the goons are shooting at them. Wally takes a rock, he throws it at one of the goons, and he takes out one of the goons in the ladder. These goons are actually, some of them are like a helicopter and they're just shooting down. You're a zip as the goon falls. Now Jay Garrick keeps running and they see the tracks that the train is going on. Now Jay rebuilds some of the tracks so the train keeps going on a good course. Now these different goons keep shooting. They keep shooting at Wally and they shoot sonic booms. Wally's almost killed, but Wally barely gets back. Now Jay Garrick keeps fighting out against these goons and he says to Wally, "You okay, Junior?" And Wally says, "Just around. Good lord. What? The guy in the ladder is still shooting at us." And Jay says, "Not us, Jay." And we see this goon shooting down, and cha-choom, cha-choom, and it takes out multiple different places, right? And Wally says, he's shooting at the tracks. And that's when Jay says, "My god, he's not." And Wally says, he is. He's derailing a 100-mile-an-hour train in the heart of downtown Keystone. You're a scree and you're a groom. And you see this train go off the tracks and start to go through pretty much the streets of downtown Keystone City. All these people are shocked. They're frightened. They think they're going to be run over by this train, so they keep running. Now, that's when Wally and Jake, they jump off of the train, and they start to run fast. The train comes in fast. You hear, shh. That's when all these people look back, and Wally catches each of them just in time before the train hits them. You hear Wally running through, you hear a boom. Then, out of nowhere, Barry Allen comes, and he starts to wave his hands at super speed to stop the train. It slows down the train a little bit, but not enough. But Jake Garrick comes in, he starts swinging his hands too, causing more momentum, more wind to stop the train. Now, Wally looks back, he catches a kid just in time, but Wally decides, you know what, it'll take 3 of us to stop this train. Wally runs in, you got Wally, Jay, and Barry all trying to stop this train, and you hear a scream, the train's coming slower. Wally says, come on. And then you hear a scream, the train comes in closer. But then it stops, and Wally says, whew. And that's what Jay says, good of you to show up. And Barry says, aren't I a little late? And Wally says, do ducks quack? Still, nice save, Unc. And then Wally says, you too old? And Jay says, watch you're calling old, Junior. I'll have you know that Jay Garrick still has a spring in his step. And that's what Barry says. You guys good? That's when a kid comes up to Barry and says, Flash, can I have your autograph? Now, Wally thinks at first that this kid's asking him. Wally turns around and says, oh, how I love this job. You bet, son. What's your... And he looks back and sees Barry gave me an autograph. Now, Wally's a little jealous. Just a little bit. Now, back at Wally's place, he's talking with Linda Park, his girlfriend. And Wally says... I don't know, like, I'm not even there. You know, both Keystone and Central have gone very crazy. And Linda says, ick, no milk? Why bother use a spoon? So Wally's actually eating cereal without milk. And Wally says, because my face won't fit in the bowl. What I'm saying is that even I'm astounded at the attention Barry is commanding. And Linda says, so you're jealous. And Wally says, jealous? No. Are you kidding? I owe everything to Uncle Barry. My powers, my identity, everything. The man is like a god to me. Trust me, no one is happier to see him back. And that's when he says, how much of this stuff should I cut up? And he starts to chop up some vegetables, right? Or he starts to chop up some food. Now, Linda says, how many tacos can you eat? And Wally says, I'll do it all. So Wally's like, I'll eat a bunch of tacos. And he says, let's change the subject. That job Midway City offered you, that wouldn't still be open, Wits? And he starts to chop up food, and Linda says, Wally West, you asked me to stay here in Keystone with you. Now you expect me to uproot my life because you want to leave? And Wally says, whoops. And then Linda says, I'm gonna pretend you didn't ask that because you really didn't change the subject. 6 months ago, you were the Twin Cities, one and only hero. Now that Jay and Barry are back, though, you're not sure Keystone Central needs 3 guys named Flash. Now, guys, before we continue, if you don't remember, Keystone City and Central City are combined now. They're called the Twin Cities. Now, Wally says, no, yeah. And then Linda says, stop beating yourself up. So long as you all get along, your only problem is the, triple name. Have you thought about changing your own superior identity? And Wally says, to what? I'm fast. What says that better than Flash? Linda says, I don't know, lightning? And Wally says, ugh, yawn. And Linda says, cheetah? And Wally says, taken. And then Linda says, Pegasus? And Wally says, a winged horse? Very nice. This is tough. Quicksilver, and then Wally says, very taken. Well, it's taken at Marvel Comics. Now, that's when Linda says, Mr. Zip, and Wally looks at it like, no, that's a dumb name. Now, Wally gets a call from Jay Garrick, and Jay says, Junior, Jay, listen, Chief, Hawkskin called, says the police have a bead on a warehouse belonging to these fellas who hit that train. Remember the goons and the crime boss? And Jay says, that's what I told him, to hold his men until the flashes arrive. Fine, be right over. Now, Wally, after tickling Linda Park a little bit and having some good time, he puts on his clothes and puts on his Flash costume. Now, he says, oh, Jay called me. And then he tells Linda, hey, I'll be back as fast as I can. He runs off, and Linda's a little disappointed because she wanted to spend time with Wally. Now, that's when Wally and Jay, they meet up with Barry Allen, and they meet up at this warehouse. Now, that's when Detective Hoskins says, The Flash, it's an honor to meet you. Thanks for agreeing to run interference. And Barry says, My pleasure, Chief. And Wally says, our pleasure. These bad boys having a chance against all of us. And Detective Hoskins says, don't I know it? You know, you almost have to feel sorry for whoever is heading this gang. Almost. He probably came to this area figuring on having to deal with one Flash tops. Now he's got 3 of you whipping up on his boys. I figure this leaves him 2 options. He'll either cut his losses and get out of Dodge, or go for broke and launch an all-or-nothing assault. Quite frankly, we're hoping for the former, but preparing for the latter. So they're preparing for a big battle, and Detective Hoskins continues, you've seen the kind of firepower this gang packs. I want to know what else they got squirreled away in that warehouse. Now, that's what Barry says, easy enough to find out. I can vibrate through the wall, take a quick peek inside. Now, Wally and Jay stop him. Wally says, no. Just because you're fastest, Barry, doesn't mean you always have to take the points. Now, Jay says, Junior's right. Even at hyperspeed, you could trigger some sort of booby trap. And Barry says, what? Then we stand out here and wait for them to come to us? And Wally points, he says, we may not have any choice. And we are, well, wham! And we see all these goons come out with a big cannon. And that's when they say, attention Keystone City Police, we are the Combined. And the Twin Cities now belong to us. Lay down your weapons and surrender. So they have like an army of goons, and that's what Barry, Wally, and Jake Eric look at each other, and they run as a team. Now the goons start to shoot, and then boom, and Wally tries to save these different police officers, because yes, he respects the police, but they're no match against these goons with this high-tech firepower. Now, Wally saves a bunch of them, but the goons keep shooting. Butter. Now, that's when Jay starts to say more. He says, this is not a good day, but we gotta pretty much reverse the fire that they're giving to us. So he takes out his helmet, he catches some bullets, ting, 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 and then he throws the bullets back at the goons, taking them out. Now, the goons scream a little bit, but then Jay is hit by a sonic boom. He's hit back. Wally barely catches him before he's killed. Now, Barry tries to stop this all. He starts to fight back quick. He causes some earthquakes. He takes down these different goons. Now, that's when the goons shoot this huge can. Kakoom, then boom. Then these police officers are in trouble, and Wally runs after him. He says, scatter, the wall is falling, move. But Wally runs in, and this whole wall collapses on him. Whoom. And the goons say, did you see that? This can was good for only 1 shot, but we made it count. I hope you're all paying attention to this epic moment. Let it be known that on this night that the Combined goes down in history. Let it be known that this night we killed the Flash. They're very happy they think they killed Wally West, the Flash. But that's when Barry shows up, and he says, what did you do? And then he causes a sonic boom, a big boom, and it takes out all these goons. And Wally looks up, he barely gets up, and he runs toward Barry. Barry has this goo in his hands, and Barry's enraged. He's actually saying a lot of stuff. He's shouting, and Wally catches what he says. Now, Wally's frightened. Now he shifts. Later on, Wally's safe, they took down the goons. And Linda, she's taking out some tacos out of the microwave. Linda says, whole town's buzzing about your victory. Apparently you boys were quite the team. How's your head? She hugs Wally, and Wally says, I'm alright. And Linda says, Wally, I've got to go. Stop brooding, okay? Everything is going to work out. You'll see. Barry's your friend. All he cares about is you. Now she walks away smiling, but Wally thinks, he's like, I'm trying to accept what Barry said. I ran up to him when he had that goon. I thought he was very mad because he thought I died. But actually what he said was, I'm the Flash. Do you understand me, punk? I'm the Flash. So Barry doesn't seem like Barry, and Wally's very suspicious once again. We begin with Wally putting on the Flash costume, and he says, Barry's problem, if it is a problem, is more subtle. To me, his behavior seems to be growing increasingly erratic, unstable, as if he were protective of his own identity. A few nights ago, I could swore I heard him rail at some thug that he, and only he, was the Flash. Then again, my perspective could be skewed. I could have misunderstood him, read too much into his actions. That's the way paranoia works, isn't it? Now, it gets a note. It says that the Combined are striking this building on the 26th floor. Now, Wally says, Jay's been spending time with him too. Wish we could compare notes. see if he's noticed any change in Barry, but I haven't heard from him in days. Guess he's off with the Justice Society or something. Those old guys do like to stick together. Now we shift to Jay Garrick and he walks into Johnny Quick's office and he says, "Hello, Johnny." Now Johnny says, "Right with you, Jay. That's right. Bancroft, our Florida distributor, is hurrying. Move 10,000 videotape units down. Fast." And when I say fast, I mean fast. Now, Jay says, "John." Now, that's when Johnny Quick says, "In a second, not you, Carl, say yes, 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 and no one the seminar debates. And double schedule Colorado. We do well there, Kyle." And Jay says, "John." And that's when Johnny says, "Don't apologize. You of all people are always welcome to drop by. How about we do lunch at the sushi bar? I could watch those chefs all day. Pure poetry in motion, they are." Now, Jay says, "This isn't a social call. I'm not here to see Johnny Chambers. I'm here to see Johnny Quick." That's when Johnny Quick says, "It's what you were afraid of, isn't it? It's happening." And Jay says, "I think so, yeah. And I want to be ready." Now, Johnny says, "I'm there, buddy. You need me to pull Jesse in on this?" And Jay says, "Leave your daughter out of it. We won't have time to teach the youngsters all our tricks. This one's a job for those of us with a track record." Now Johnny says, "You know who we could really use?" And Jay says, "Max." And he says, "I'm right ahead of you." Now Johnny says, "You always were." And he says to his pretty much his worker, his employee, "Nadine, you consider yourself a self-starter?" Now Nadine says, "I suppose so." And Johnny says, "Great, then start writing the show in my absence. I'll be back as soon as I can." Now we see Wally running with Barry, and they're running through the town trying to make it to this building, right? Now they eventually make it to the building. Now, Barry says 26, and Wally says that's what Piper said, 23, 24, 25. Now, they kick the window open, you got kush, and you see darkness. Now, Barry says, "Nobody's home. This tip is on the level." Now, Wally says, "Huh?" And they walk in, they see this replica of the Twin Cities of Central and Keystone. And Wally says, "You tell me." Now, Barry says, "I don't believe it's a tabletop model of the Keystone Central area, built perfectly to scale." And Wally says, "Obviously these people like to keep their eyes on the prize. Notice how some areas are illuminated? What's the significance?" Now it's this man. He comes out in this really bright costume. He says, "Those, dear boy, are the sea sectors that have fallen completely under our control. Right now, they may be few and far between, but our plans are to light that entire model like a Christmas tree as soon as the flashes are finally disposed of." And Wally says, "Tell it to the judge, smart guy. You come with us." And he says, "Huh? A hologram? Barry, get back. It's a trap." And the man starts to laugh. And that's when Barry thinks, and he looks at Wally. They're both startled, and the man says in the background, "Indeed it is, and believe us, we've spared no expense to create a death trap that will at long last put you out of your misery. An ever-shrinking force field set to squeeze the life out of you." So Barry and Wally are stuck in this force field, and they may die. Now we shift to a subway. And we see Max Mercury. He says, "Tokens." The man says 2. He takes tokens. He says, "Tokens." The woman says 10. He takes the tokens. Now Jay comes by, and Max says, "Tokens?" And Jay says, "Hello, Max." And Max says, "Nobody here by that name. Tokens?" And that's when Jay says, "Max, people like us don't need the subway to get around. You know that." And that's when Max says, "Nobody here named Max. You want to keep moving?" And Jay says, "Oh, of course. I forgot you used to go by other names. There was what? Lightning?" And Johnny says, "Blue Streak." And Jay says, "Quicksilver." And Johnny says, "I like that one. You kept that one for a long time." And that's when Jay says, "And Max Mercury, Whirlwind of the West. Damn, you were fast." And that's when Max says, "For the last time, you got the wrong guy. You gonna make me call security?" And that's when Johnny says, "Oh, for Pete's sake." And Jay says, "No, come on, John, we're obviously mistaken. We got the wrong guy. Let's go." And Johnny says, but that's when Jay hits the token. He says, "Whoops, you had thumb in that cush," and all the tokens start to fall, but Max uses his speed to catch all of them. He says, "My tokens," and he catches them all at quick speed and shows the speed powers. Now, that's when Jay says, "Gotcha." And Max says, "Damn reflexes. Alright, got me. but I don't know what you're gonna do with me. Crime fighting's a young man's game. I gave it up a long time ago. You know that. And Jay says, I also know that you owe me at one. 1949. The Screaming Skull, remember? And Max says, you swore you never call that one in. Not unless it was a matter of life and death. Now, Jay says, what does that tell you then? Now, Max comes out of his door, and Jay says, you'll need this. Hope it still fits. He pulls out the Max Mercury costume, and Max says, you kept it all these years. And Jay says, I want to remember you, Max. You're my hero. And Max says, alright, where to? So the three old men, these three speedsters, walk out. Now we go back to Barry while he's stuck in this chamber, right? In this force field, and it's shrinking. Now Wally says, the field, it's closing in fast, do something. And Barry says, maybe there's some sort of secondary trigger mechanism inside the room. I'll vibrate through and see if I can. That's when Barry tries to vibrate through the air, scat, and he's hit back, says, what the? Clever. The field automatically senses my vibrations and instantly adapts itself to block my frequency. It really is impenetrable. And Wally tries to punch you at sack. He says, so that trick is out. Well, one of us had Barry pull another rabbit out of that hat. And soon. Now Barry says, suppose we try to vibrate simultaneously. And Wally thinks, yeah, right. Whoever designed this thing took that into account, Barry. Some of us aren't fast enough to vibrate, remember? I can't do it solo unless... And then you have Bing Bing. And he says, hey, come here. Now, Barry says, what? And Wally says, I might be able to sustain a vibrational pattern for a few seconds. If you jumpstart me, that's it. Like that. And they start to run, and Wally says, there. Now, while the field is busy attuning itself to my frequency, change patterns and jump. Barry jumps through, and Wally says, beauty, it worked. And check this out. Your power drive must have whacked out some of the field's sensors. I'm slipping through too. He starts to get his hand through. And Wally says, I can't get out on my own, though. Give me a hand, Barry. Sometime today, before I have to change my name to the MASH. Barry looks and hesitates. And Wally says, Barry, I can't maintain the vibration. The field is closing. Don't screw around, okay? Barry, get with it. Don't leave me hanging. For God's sake, help me. He puts his hand out. Barry goes to reach. And Wally says, that's it. Come on, man. I know there's a lot going on in your head these days, but I know you won't let me down. After all, we're a team. Barry closes hands and leaves Wally. And Barry says, very touching. You almost had me too. But you know the old saying, Wally, this town's not big enough for the both of us. And Wally says, Barry, are you crazy? Why are you talking like this? Help me. And Barry says, help you? Why? You stole my name. You tried to replace me. Tried to make the world forget about Barry Allen. Now Wally says, Barry, look around you. Everyone remembers. They remember the kind of man you were. The things you stood for. Now Barry starts to run off. He says, of course they do. You're here to remind them, to be their champion, their hero, while the real Flash becomes some pathetic, forgotten figure swept in the dustbin of history. Now, he kicks all the building, this replica of the Twin Cities apart. You got Clish. And Barry says, well, I'll show them. Trust me, Wally. I'll be remembered. Starting today, Barry Allen will be forever remembered as a man who destroyed an ungrateful city. And Wally shouts as his hand starts to go back into the force field. Barry, please, you got it all right. I never wanted to take your place. Everything I am, everything I do, I did to honor you. Barry looks. You're a mistake. He runs off, and before he leaves, he says, don't feel bad, though. You won't live long enough to regret it. And Wally looks as Barry abandons him. Wally says, Barry! He shouts, Barry! The force field starts to close. He drops to the ground and says, no, I'm not dying today. He tries to make it through. He slowly, gently, and hurry, and he barely makes it through before the force field kills him. Wally gets out here, and he gets out, he's like, now, who is it for? He's like, what's wrong with Barry? He gets back to his apartment. He hits the door open. It's in darkness. Wally looks at the TV and sees this news reporter say, news crews today finally caught up with a long-absent Flash. Though still vague on the nature of his disappearance several years ago, he offered this unexpected and devastating statement to the press. Barry says, since my return, I have found myself pleasantly surprised by a number of events that occurred during my absence. Chief among these was the notion that my former prodigy, Kid Flash, had chosen to keep my spirit alive by adopting my name and costume. While he slowly takes off his costume, Barry continues, I was touched, but not terribly startled. Ever since he was a boy, all he wanted was to follow in my footsteps. Tragically, however, he wasn't up to the job. Earlier this afternoon, he and I fell into a trap set by the Combine. I escaped. Wally West did not. And so it is with heavy hearts that I stand before you today to announce today that the Flash is dead. And we see Wally. He's out of his costume. He has the Flash costume in the garbage can. And Wally has his hands on his head as he kneels down. He sees his mentor has betrayed him. Wally West sits on the couch with his Flash costume in the garbage, and he watches TV and sees that Barry Allen, his mentor, he has not just betrayed him, but he's betraying everyone else. We see Barry fighting off against Hal Jordan the Green Lantern. There's a huge fight going on, and everyone in the Twin Cities of Central and Keystone are shocked. They're wondering why the Flash is lashing out at the Green Lantern. Now, Wally believes that Barry is not right. He's been turned evil. Something's wrong with him. He would not betray him like this. But he also needs to search into this. Maybe this isn't Barry after all. Now, that's when he looks at his costume. He remembers the good times when Barry was just his mentor. He was Kid Flash, and he was great saving people. But now, for the first time since he was a kid, Wally West is not a hero anymore. Now we shift and we see these workers, and they're just talking, they're on their lunch break, and one of the workers say, "So, if the young Flash in the shiny suit is dead, like they said on the TV, then where's your guy Ralphie, the old Flash with the hats?" And one of the workers say, "I bet he's hiding out." The other worker says, "Ooh, he's scared of the evil Flash?" And the other worker says, Hey, a little respect, punk. Jay Garrick might not be a hotshot kid, but he's been protecting folks like me since before you was born. We can count on him." Now, that's when the ledge that they're sitting on starts to shake. And one of the men say, "Yeah, then where is he when we need him, Ral?" And then they start to shake, their hat falls and say, "Hey, everything's shaking." They try to hold on. They say, "Hold on, don't lose your..." And one of the men fall. They say, "What the hell's going on down there? Are they blasting?" Worse. And they see it, the Flash, Barry Allen, shaking the ledge, trying to kill them. They say, "It's the Flash, and he's tearing us down from the ground up." Now, all these men start to fall. We see Jay Garrick, Johnny Quick, and Max Mercury. They run in, save these men, boom! And that's one of the men who is pretty much praising Jay Garrick says, "Told ya." Now we see Jay Garrick and Max Mercury and Johnny Quick run up to Barry Allen. And Jay says, "That's enough, Barry. I've seen this coming for weeks now. You're out of control. You might think you can run this city ragged, but I'm here to tell you, we're not gonna let that happen." Now, that's when Barry says, 3 against 1, huh? I don't recognize your friend the Whites, but I've heard you. You're Johnny Quick." Johnny tries to hit Barry, but Barry elbows him in the back of the head. You're a whack. Now, Barry then says, "You came out of retirement for this? To watch me run rings around you?" And Johnny Quick comes up to him and he says, "No, to keep you distracted," as Jay builds a whole wall of bricks. Now, Barry phases through. He says, "From what? Some feeble attempt to box me in and capture me? How pathetic. You've forgotten who you're dealing with. No barricade can hold a man who can vibrate through solid matter. Your wall is useless." Now, Barry runs through, but you see Jay Garrick, Max Mercury. They both hit him in the face. You're a wham. Now, Jay says, "Not if it keeps you from seeing what's on the other side." Barry gets hit into the wall. Yeah, cash. Now, that's when Barry starts to get up. And Jay says, "He's down. Let's move in. But take it easy on him. He's not in his right mind." Now, Barry gets some of the sand, flings it at Johnny Quick. He says you, eat gravel, old man. Now, Johnny Quick gets hit, and he starts to scream as he falls down. Now, Jay says, "Johnny." He catches Johnny before he hits this one wall. Now, Johnny Quick is injured. Barry says, "You want a piece of me? Then come get me." Now, Max Mercury says, "How's John?" And Jay says, "Not good, Max." At super speed, that gravel tore into him like a buckshot. Now, Max Mercury looks as Barry runs off. Then 10 to him. It's time Barry Allen met Max Mercury. Now we see Wally West. He's going through the alleyway that Barry Allen supposedly came back through. Now Wally's trying to search through clues, and he keeps walking, but he can't find the answer. But we see this man. He grabs a book that has a Flash symbol on it out of the garbage can. Now we shift, and we see Barry's fighting out against Max Mercury, and Barry says, "What? You're faster than Johnny?" And Max says, "I should hope so. He's a poser. Never listened to a damn thing I taught him." Now Barry keeps running after Max Mercury, and he says, "Well, you're still no match for me." Now Max Mercury says, "Down here? Probably not. So let's take this someplace where I can have the advantage. Into the high steel." Now they go into the high steel, and Barry looks around. Max Mercury is nowhere to be seen, and Barry says, Where'd you go, you slippery old coots? If you think you can hide from me, Now, Max Mercury comes behind him and kicks Barry in the head. You're a thug. Now, Max says, obviously got the right idea. Alley-oop, and then they both look at each other on these steel ledges, and Max Mercury says, what's the matter, Flash? Tough to move at light speed when you're walking the tightrope of an iron girder? Up here, it's not velocity that counts, it's agility. You see Barry try to go after Max Mercury, try to shoot things at him. You're a tank, but Max dodges, and he swings around and kicks Barry in the face with his acrobatics. Now, Barry falls to the ground. You got correct. Now, Barry starts to run out. He says, not so fast, boys. You're about to be real sorry you stuck around. Got to hand it to you, Mercury. You're one hell of an acrobat. Now, Barry grabs these people and throws them out to the air. And he says, how are you at juggling? Now, Max says, no. And he goes to catch him. He says, relax, I've got you. He catches all three of them. And Barry comes behind Max Mercury and says, nice catch, chump. Now he hits Max Mercury, yeah, bam. That's when Barry gets hit by this steel ledge by Jay Garrick, yeah, correct. And Barry falls to the ground. Now he has blood on his face, and Jay says, got your attention. Good. Damn it, that's two good men you've hurt today. And God knows what you've done to Wally. Too much of this is my fault. I've hoped that the Barry I knew was still inside you somewhere. I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you showed me I can't afford that luxury. One last chance, Barry. Don't make me hurt you. Now, Barry then kicks Jay Garrick in the face and says, you talk too much. Now we see Wally. He's back in the alleyway. He's looking around. The man who's reading the book that's the Flash symbol on the cover says, Iris. Now Wally shouts, you, give me that. And the man says, no, it's mine. Now, a couple minutes later, Wally gives his man $20 and takes the book. Now, Wally looks through the book and he says, my God. Oh my God. Now, we go back to Jay Garrick and Barry fighting. And Barry says, you want to talk hurt? Oh man, I'm the one who got his heart carved out and handed to him. And that's when we see his helicopters. They're above the fight. They're looking. And they say, holy jeez, are you getting this? In crystal clear focus, man. Move in. Now, Barry punches Jay Garrick at light speed multiple times and says, Barry Allen, hero Central State was forgotten, replaced, and now everyone here is going to pay the price. Now, Jay Garrick is bleeding, and Barry says, I want to make headlines again, starting with this one. Now, Wally keeps looking through the book, and we see Barry he runs around these helicopters multiple times, causes a tornado. The helicopters go into the tornado, and they start to lose focus. They're about to crash. Now, Barry runs off, and he says to Jay Garrick, before he runs, my work here is done. Come here, old man, or are you going to stick around and watch the fireworks? Now, we see Wally back in the alleyway. He finally figures it out. Now, that's when we see Jay Garrick. He runs around these steel ledges. Yeah, boom! And he catches all these different men as they fall. But he goes up to the helicopter. And he grabs each man. And he starts to run before the whole explosion goes off. Now, Jay Garrick runs as fast as he can. But that's when we see the helicopter explode. Yeah, va-boom! And all these steel ledges go down. It's a huge explosion. Now, steel ledges fall to the ground. You're a cake. And that's when we see Jay Garrick's helmet. It falls. You're a thump. But Wally West arrives too late. He runs in, has Jay Garrick's helmet in his hand when he sees Max Mercury and Johnny Quick. They are beats. All three Flashes are beats. And Barry Allen is gone. It's time for Wally West to deal with his mentor alone. We pick up in this field of smoke, ash, and dust. Now, Wally's trying to learn how to become faster, how to be his mentor, Barry Allen. And we see Johnny Quick, he has like this stick, and he's teaching Wally about the speed formula. And he talks how it's a mathematical formula that describes a fourth-dimensional construct. He goes all this thing about geometry and explains it, but Wally's not really buying it yet. Now, we see Max Mercury. He walks out, he says, Johnny, are you still peddling the power of positive thinking as a cure-all? Pay no attention to him, kid. He's talking down to you. He's preaching the same oversimplified doublespeak you hear on his infomercials. Save it for cable access, Johnny. The name is Max Mercury, son. Good to meet you. You look skeptical. You wonder what can be learned from this old man. Now, Wally chuckles. I'm trying to be polite. I mean, really, how fast are you? Wow. We see Max Mercury runs around Wally at fast paced. Now, from the side, you see Jay Garrick. He's alive. He survived. He says, fast enough to save me from an exploding helicopter. I never would have been the blast if Max hadn't raced in to help me. What he teaches, even I haven't learned yet. Now, Wally says to Max Mercury, my apologies. So you're telling me that giant speed formula is bogus? And Max says, not at all. It's a cute trick, and it works for him. The true magic, however, lies in finding the zen of speed. Now, Wally at first, he's like, not really zen, I'm not looking into philosophy, I'm trying to get faster. Now, that's when Max says, when you run, do you think about running? Now, Wally says, rather than barrel headlong into like a wall at Mach 3, yeah, I think about running. Now, Max says, then you're thinking too hard. Max kneels down and grabs some sand out of the dirt. And Wally says, so I shouldn't be conscious of my speed? I shouldn't just let it happen? And you see rain, it pours onto Max's hands, and the sand turns into water, it goes through Max's fingers, and Max says, precisely, let your power flow like fine sand, like water. Now Wally says, like Quicksilver, and then Wally says, well, pardon me, Yoda, but that's not the most revolutionary theory I've ever heard. Now Max Mercury says, then let's try this one. Do you ever wonder why you're not as fast as Barry? Wally says, there are a lot of theories, most of them biochemical, and fully rational. Now, if we can move on, and Max says, how many of them have to do with fear? Now, Wally then shouts, alright, that's it. This little college of velocity knowledge is over with. No one can tell me what I'm afraid of that I'm afraid of speed? Like, I'm not afraid of speed. I love what I can do. And Max says, but you love your Uncle Barry even more. Now, Wally looks into the sand. He looks down, and he says, what? And Max says, that's why you took his name and costume, isn't it? In a sense. You did so the world wouldn't forget him or his heroism. You keep saying you don't want to replace Barry, but the moment you become as fast as him, that's exactly what you're doing. And that's when Wally looks at him, and Max looks back. But then he walks away and says, think about it. Now Wally clenches his fist, and then he says to Jay, and what about you, Jay? You were the first. You invented the Flash identity. What secrets can you pass along? Now Jay says, not one. And Wally says, but, and Jay says, listen to me. All three of us have our little sleights and stratagems. They were gifts of experience. But you don't need to be taught tricks of the trade. You already have what it takes to do the job. It's in here. And he points the symbol on Wally's chest, the Flash symbol. And he says, all I can give you is my faith. Flash. Now Wally looks at him and smiles, and he's happy that Jay believes in him. Now Wally then tells the three speedsters about what he found in the alley, the book, and he found out that Barry Allen is not himself. It's not actually Barry Allen, it's somebody else. Now he reveals who he is, and Jay's shocked. Now Jay Garrick says, but how? And Wally says, I have no idea, but I'm gambling I can trick him into telling us. I have a plan, but I have to set something up first, at the Flash Museum. It'll be up to you three to find him and get him here. Wally runs off. He says, leave the rest to me, and for God's sake, watch out for each other. So Wally runs off, and we see Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, and Johnny Quick run as a group, right? They run to take down Barry Allen. Now, we shift to this prison, and we see this cop. He's transferring this one man, this cop killer, into these cells, right? He says, just make yourself at home. Trust me, we promised 3 widows that Jack Brogan would be behind bars for a long time. So this cop is pretty happy that they're putting this guy away. Now, that's what Jack Brogan says. What? And we see the Flash, Barry Allen, he shows up and he frees all these prisoners. Now, so the cop says, Code 30, this is Patterson in cell block 14. The Flash is here and he's released all prisoners. Repeat, all prisoners are, and then he's taken out by this inmate, and he screams before he's pretty much brought to the ground, knocked out. Now we go to the warden, and the warden says to all his guards, good lord, there's a full-scale breakout underway. Guards, start passing out the riot control gear. I want a total shutdown. Now it's when they go into the room where all the weapons are, and the Flash runs in and takes these weapons away. Now, the warden reports to the main entrance, to the other guards. Now they get their guns ready, but Flash runs up and he takes their guns away. Now, he runs into this room with all the prisoners. He gives guns to every single one of them. He has an army of prisoners now. And he laughs and he says, "Alright, man, grab a weapon and let's get moving. I'm gonna blow this town wide open, but I'll need the help of every con in this prison. After all, not even the fastest man alive can take over an entire city by himself, not without assembling his own private army." So obviously, the Flash, Barry Allen, is causing a lot of trouble now. Now we see Max Mercury shows up, takes away all these guns, and Barry starts yelling at him for a second. He's like, "You're back for another whipping?" He's like, "I'm gonna beat all you guys up, all you seniors." He's like, "All these speedsters, Max Mercury, Johnny Quick, Jay Garrick, you're all old. I can beat you." But then Jay Garrick goes behind him, grabs him by the shoulder, and says, "Shut up." And he punches Barry Allen in the face. Yeah, for wham! Barry Allen on the ground looks up, and Jay says, "This isn't between you and them. It's between us. Get up and fight." Now, we shift to the Flash Museum and we see Wally. He shows up. This whole place is wrecked. Now, Wally runs around. You see a poster of Aquaman. You see all these different artifacts of Flash's history. Now, Wally runs to this one area and he finds this golden ring. Now we shift and we see Max Mercury and Johnny Quick teaming up against this army of prisoners. Now, Max says, "That's it, John. Move your hands swiftly enough and you can cut through solid steel gun barrels as if they were butter." Now, that's when Johnny Quick says, "No lectures, Max. You may have been around longer than me, but I'm no kid. I know what I'm doing." Now he punches all these prisoners and takes them out. Now, meanwhile, we see Jay Garrick and Barry Allen, they're fighting. They're each punching each other in the stomach and the face. Now, we see Max Mercury says to Johnny Quick, "Do it faster. We managed to keep the front line from advancing, but the cons in the back are about to break out the heavy artillery. We need a weapon of our own." We see these prisoners, they shoot a gun of tear gas, shoot, and that's when Johnny Quick, he comes up, and hiss, as all the smoke comes through, and Johnny Quick says, "Think that'll do?" Max Mercury says, "Absolutely." They use their hands, and they pretty much go super fast with their hands to reverse the smoke. The smoke goes toward the prisoners and takes them out, and Johnny Quick looks at Max, and Max says, "Bad move, boys. Never use tear gas against a human whirlwind." Now, that's when we shift and we see Barry Allen and Jay Garrick. They're fighting. They each are punching each other in the face and the stomach, back and forth. And Jay Garrick is on bottom. Now, we see Max Mercury and Johnny Quick. They give each other a high five, and Johnny Quick says, "Nice work. Now, let's get this riot gear back in the hands of the guards and go find Jay." Now, we see Jay Garrick. He punches Barry Allen into a wall. Shrup. And Barry looks at Jay. He says, "Jay, please, no more. What are you doing? It's me, your friend." And Jay smiles. But then Barry punches Jay in the face and says, "Whoops, you blinked, old man. You're a mistake. You may have the edge in speed, but what counts now is endurance." Now, we see Barry punches Jay in the face multiple times. You're a bam, a thrack, a thwack, a boof, and a whop. But that's when Jay's still going. He tries to punch back, but Barry avoids it and then punches Jay in the stomach. You're a whump. And Barry says, "You just don't get it, do you? Your day is gone. There's only one Flash in the city, and that's when Jay Garrick gets back and then grabs the Flash symbol on Barry's chest. He rips it out of the costume and says, "You don't deserve to wear this." Now Barry looks at him, looks at his costume just ripped, and he says, "How dare you?" And he punches Jay Garrick in the face. Jay goes flying back. Now Barry goes over him. Jay is almost broken. But Jay looks at Barry as Barry grabs his leg and he twists it. Now, Barry then says, "I've had it with you, old man. Ever since I cut loose, you've been dogging my every step, following me around. Well, let's put an end to that." And he twists the foot and the leg even harder, and Jay screams. Jay Garrick is broken. He can't run anymore. Now, Barry runs off and he says, "The name, the colors, they belong only to me. When I bring this town down around your ears, it won't be as Barry Allen, but as the one true Flash. He takes down Johnny Quick and Max Mercury. He's defeated the 3 speedsters. The only speedster who's left who can fight him is Wally West. Now we see Barry Allen. He runs to the Flash Museum and he starts going through everything and he finds his case. But the golden ring that he was looking for is missing. Now you see Wally right behind him. Wally says, "Looking for this? Go ahead, suit up." He throws the golden ring at this man. The man says, "What the?" And Wally says, "Look familiar, does it?" Now, that's when this man, disguised as Barry Allen, smiles, looks at this yellow costume, and says, "Yes." And Wally says, "I figured it would. Congratulations, you had the whole world going. Somehow you even fooled yourself. That was the crowning touch. I generally believed your tale of traumatic amnesia. You had to have been confused when you materialized in that alleyway. Otherwise, you would never have left this behind." He pulls out the book with the Flash symbol on it. He says, "That's right, a full biography of Barry Allen the Flash. His entire life in intimate detail, from birth to death. It couldn't have been published in our time. Barry's identity isn't public knowledge, at least not in the 20th century. No, this book, it came from the future. It came with you. You're not Barry Allen. Your name is Eobard Thawne, or as you're known this century, Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash." Now Reverse Flash gets his costume. He smiles, and we see a standoff between the new Flash and the Flash's oldest enemy. And that's how we end Flash number 78. We begin at the Flash Museum. Reverse Flash runs at Wally West. He tries to punch Wally, but Wally dodges the punch. Now, that's when Wally charges at Reverse Flash, but Reverse Flash kicks him over his head. Now, that's when Wally tries to punch, but Reverse Flash catches his fist in his hand and punches him in the face back. Wally falls to the ground, but he gets back up and says, "You're dead." Now, Reverse Flash says, "No. You're dead." Wally says, "Years ago, Uncle Barry killed you, snapped your neck in order to save an innocent woman's life. I saw it with my own eyes. So how'd you do it, you bastard? How'd you pull off your own resurrection? In order to torment me?" Now, Reverse Flash throws Wally to the ground and says, I didn't come back from the dead, and I didn't come for you." Now, he kicks Wally in the face, but Wally says, "But," now, Wally on the ground, Reverse Flash above him. Reverse Flash says, "You're ahead of your time, kid, or rather, you're ahead of mine. I've never met Barry Allen, at least not yet." But Wally says, "What?" Now, Reverse Flash starts running around him, doesn't say anything, until he asks this question to Wally. "Ever been to the 25th century? I didn't think so. You wouldn't like it there, Wally." Now, I could use to say how there's no heroes left in the 25th century. There's so much technology that protects and causes order and actually keeps order in society. There's no need for heroes at all. Now, Eobard Thawne, though, he was quite disappointed in this, and Wally actually looks at him. And Eobard Thawne says, "Disappointed?" Wally says, "Disbelieving. Keep talking." Now, Reverse Flash says, "Ever been to the 25th century? I didn't think so. You wouldn't like it there, Wally. It's a cold place." Now, Reverse Flash continues to say how in the 25th century, there's all technology, order was in society, but there's no heroes, there's no need for heroes. And Reverse Flash says, "Disappointed?" But Wally responds, "Disbelieving. Keep talking." Now, Reverse Flash says how he looked up to the heroic age in the 20th century. He looked up to the Batman, the Superman, but most of all, the Flash. Now, he says, "I worshipped him, and no matter that, he'd been dead 500 years. I agreed for him. He was my hero. He is my friend." Now, he said how he looked into everything about Barry Allen, the Flash. He found the biography. Eventually, he started trying to become the Flash, try to become a hero. He started getting these certain things to become this new Flash. Now, he found a device, a time-traveling device of Barry Allen. This device was the cosmic treadmill. Suddenly, my wildest fantasy was within reach. I could journey to a time before Barry Allen's death. Meet my hero. Tell him just how much he meant to me. Provided I could acquire the super speed abilities necessary to activate the treadmill. Wally tries to attack Reverse Flash, but he throws Wally over his head to the ground. Now Reverse Flash tells him how he went through years of pain. He lost many years to become a speedster. Now he says, it was worth it. Who wouldn't give absolutely anything for the chance to become Barry's friend and partner? Now Wally picks up a rock. He says, who indeed? Now Reverse Flash says how he got a Flash costume. He found the biography. He got on the treadmill. He started going through time. He ran on this treadmill. Now he finally made it to the past. His whole costume just ripped to shreds, and the biography was left in the alley. But he didn't make it to a time where before Barry's death. It was a couple years afterward. It was during the time where Wally fought off against Dr. Alchemy, which was a couple weeks ago in this time. So, Reverse Flash decided that he'd go to the Flash Museum. He saw the statue of Barry Allen, the Flash, and he was very happy to see all his memories. Now, he says to Wally, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Wally throws this rock. Reverse Flash hits it, destroys the Yarashatang. He says to Wally, don't do that again. Now, Reverse Flash could choose to say, clearly I have been hand-chosen by fate to give Barry Allen a new lease on life, to amend the tragedy of his death, to take his place in history and continue his glorious career. Wally says, clearly, Reverse Flash started going to the Flash Museum, saw the Trickster, Captain Cold, all these villains. But finally he made it to the exhibit of Flash's greatest foe, Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash. Now he sees how the Flash had to kill this villain. The only reason was because Reverse Flash was the deadliest villain. He couldn't be stopped, and Flash had to break his code in a way, right? Now, Eobard Thawne was like, okay, whatever, this is fine, it's cool. But finally he found out the real name of Reverse Flash. The real name of this villain was his own. It was Eobard Thawne. Now, he said, no, he sees that Flash killed him in the future. He's like, this will not happen. Now, he started to try to take away his identity. He started to say, Barry Allen, Barry Allen, Barry Allen. Now, he went outside, saw the Flash statue. And he got in his mind that he was Barry Allen. Now, Wally says to Reverse Flash, so that's what happened. You took refuge in a fantasy personality, supplementing your true self inside a grand delusion. You genuinely believed you were Barry. Green Lantern's ring said you were telling the truth, and in a sense, you were. That's how you fooled us all, by fooling yourself. So, why are you telling me all this? Reverse Flash smiles and says, isn't it obvious? Because we both want the same thing out of life, Wally. A chance to fill Barry Allen's boots. Think about it. We're a lot alike. You might even call us brothers. Now, Wally goes to attack, but he can't fight off against Reverse Flash because this villain is too fast. Now, Wally says, maybe, except for one thing. Evil will out, Thawne. You overreached yourself. Your maniac zeal to establish yourself as the one only Flash splintered your demented facade. You got your wish. God help us all. You were the Flash for a while, but the game is over. You have to return to your rightful era. You know that. Now, Reverse Flash hits Wally back into a wall and says, on the contrary, I'm not going anywhere. The moment I return to the future, I'm one step closer to my final fates. But here, in 1993, I'm forever out of Barry Allen's murderous reach. So long as I stay in your time, I can never die. Now, he starts to run. I know your plan. The only way you can send me away is with this. But not if I destroy it first. Reverse Flash goes to destroy the cosmic treadmill. He goes to hit it, but Wally says, you can't. Demolish it now, it won't be around the 25th century, and without it, you'll never have made it the trip here. Now, Reverse Flash says to Wally, you're babbling. Now, Wally points at him, and you're changing history. Now, Reverse Flash smacks Wally and says, no, that's nonsense. You're trying to confuse me with clever paradoxes. But I'm here, in the flesh. Nothing can change that. Now, Wally says, okay. Maybe you're right. Then go ahead. Total the damn thing. Destroy the holy grail of Flash collectibles. See if I care. Now, Reverse Flash grits his teeth and he runs at Wally. He says, fine, you win. Enjoy it while you can. He starts to hit Wally countless of times. He's about to kill him. But that's when Green Lantern comes through the wall of the Flash Museum with Giant Quick and Max Mercury. You hear a thum. Green Lantern says, get away from him. And that's when Reverse Flash is trapped in this construct of a prison cell. He says, and in charges the cavalry. Imagine that! The mighty Green Lantern thinks he has me caged. Did you think I'd forget our previous battle, Hal? Or that your fabled power ring has no effect on yellow objects? Now, Reverse Flash goes to the construct and punches Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, in the face. You hear a crack. He continues to say, you wound me, old friend, or better yet, I wound you. Now, that's when Max Mercury uses his speed to create a tornado and hits Reverse Flash up. But Reverse Flash says, and look who else is here, Giant Quick and Max Mercury, the also-rans. Now, he starts to swing his arms, causes another tornado, and takes out Giant Quick and Max Mercury. He says, stop wasting my time with your petty tricks. I'm faster than either of you. I'm faster than any of you. Now, he kicks Giant Quick in the face. You're a wham! And actually, in the process, he actually kicked Max Mercury as well. He says, I'm the fastest man alive. Now, Hal Jordan Green Lantern tries to get all these rocks with his constructs and tries to hit Reverse Flash. He says, not after today, you maniac. Maybe I can't touch you directly with my beam, but I can pin you down. He hits Reverse Flash into a wall with all these rocks. You hear a thum. But that's when Reverse Flash says, nice try, but haven't we gone through this before? Nothing holds a man who can vibrate through solid matter. Now, Max says, stop him, don't let him. Now, Reverse Flash starts to go through the wall. He says, get away, too late, I'm gone. But my work is far from finished. Sooner or later, I'll be back to rub Wally West out of the picture, just as I have Jay Garrick. He smiles as he disappears. Now, Wally comes up to the other heroes. He says, Jay, what happened to Jay? Now, we go to the hospital. We see Jay Garrick. His leg is broken in 6 places. And his wife Joanne says, I don't know that he'll ever run again. Now, that's what Jay Garrick says. Don't listen to my wife, Wally. She's a pessimist. She also underestimates the recuperative powers of a super speedster. It may not heal perfectly, but it'll heal. Wish I'd been at the museum, though. I'd have cleaned Thawne's clock. Now, Hal Jordan says, easier said than done, Jay. I joined the fight as soon as I could, but Thawne still escaped us. My fault, I let my anger override my judgment. Now, Jay smiles and looks at Giant Quick. Anger. That's what it's all about, isn't it? The Thawne I knew hated Barry, and now we know why. Giant Quick says, the question is, what are we going to do about it? Now, Wally comes up to them and says, we aren't going to do anything. This is my fight. I owe him for twisting the memories of Barry and of Aunt Iris. And that's when Giant Quick says, that's right. I've forgotten. Professor Zoom killed Iris in cold blood, didn't he? Now, Wally says, according to history, and up until now, history was Thawne's best weapon, thanks to his biography. It was his knowledge of the intimate personal details from Barry and Iris' life together that made Thawne so convincing. It's fascinating read. Not all of it survived, the trip through time of course, but the book still bears a copyright date, which proves it was written, will be written just a few short years from now. Now, Giant Quick says, really? By who? Didn't I see an author credit here? Now, Giant Quick looks to the author of this book. He says, but he's shocked. Now, Wally continues to say, I know, I'm not sure what it means either, but it's the only good news to come out of this whole situation. In the end, it's the only thing that might save Zoom from the blind fury of vengeance. Jay, take care of this. It's important to me. Wally gives the biography of Barry Allen to Jay Garrick. Listen to me, I'm not going to say this twice. Thawne doesn't care about any of you. He's after me. Now he's crippled Jay and tried to trash Barry's reputation. I'm the only other target left to him. That makes it personal. I have to beat Thawne one-on-one. Not just for my own sake, but for everyone who ever called himself the Flash. Now, that's what Hal Jordan says. I admire your courage. Max says, very well. What can we do? Wally says, you can stand at the right. If I go down, don't let the city pay for my failure. Barry himself taught me that history can't be changed. Whatever happens, Thawne must eventually return to the 25th century with no memory of our battle in order to live out his destiny as the Reverse Flash. Trust me, I'd give anything to end his career right now, to kill him. But if he doesn't go back, all of history will change in ways we can't imagine, and not necessarily for the better. Johnny Quick says, alright, but that doesn't mean he can't return with your blood on his hands. Wally, you're talking suicide. Physically, you're no match for Thawne's speed. Now, as we see on TV, we see Linda Park. She's having this show, right? Now, Wally says true. But I think faster than him, and that might make all the difference. Everything is in the mind. Isn't that what you preach, Max? Max says, I told you that fear is what's dampening your own speed. Fear of replacing Barry Allen by becoming his equal. And he says, if you don't face that fear before Thawne draws you into combat, you don't have a prayer of survival. Now, that's what we see on TV. Linda Park is talking to this other guy, right? About the Renegade Flash, Reverse Flash. But that's when Linda's host is then he dies out of nowhere because Reverse Flash comes into the studio and puts his hand right through this man's chest, and that's when this man screams as he dies and falls in the desk. Now Linda just is shocked. She stands up and Reverse Flash gets the microphone and says, isn't that the truth? Please don't be fooled by the change in costume colors. I am indeed, though what was it you called me? Renegade Flash, you seek. And he goes up to Linda Park, pulls her close. He says no longer should Central C blame his grip of terror on a hero long dead. Know now and forever that Eobard Thawne, Professor Zoom, is your true champion of injustice. He pulls Linda close and he takes off his mask. Linda is afraid. Now, Thawne says, here, take a good look at the face that has become the Flash's worst nightmare. And speaking of the Scarlet Speedster, where is that coward hiding out? Perhaps you have some idea, Linda. Surely you don't mind if I pick your brain. Now he's about to kill Linda Park. Hal Jordan says, good God, he's going to kill her. We got to move. Wally, which way to the studio? He looks back, but Wally is already gone. Now we see Reverse Flash gets closer to picking Linda's brain, but Wally runs across the sea at super speed, and eventually he makes it. He saves his girlfriend, Linda Park. Now Reverse Flash says, well, it's about time. I thought you'd never get here. Now Wally has Linda Park close. And that's when they start fighting. Wally punches Reverse Flash in the face, but Reverse Flash punches him multiple times, kicks him in the face, elbows him in the back. He hits Wally to the ground. Now, Wally tries to fight back, but he's bleeding. He's getting hurt a lot. Reverse Flash says, no Green Lanterns, no Max Mercurys. This time it's just you and me. Wally falls to the ground defeated. Reverse Flash says, and it's about to just be me. You hear a thump as Reverse Flash slams Wally's head into the ground. Now, Reverse Flash smiles and says, once you're out of my way, I really will make the city forget Barry Allen. From now on, when they remember the Flash, they'll remember me. He starts to run away. He says, you still have a problem with that? Then follow me, kid. We have not yet begun our fights. Now, Linda goes to Wally. She says, Wally, oh God, Wally. Wally, stay down. The ambulance is coming for the mayor. Let them look at you. Wally stands up. He says, no time. That thought you said you had, that I might not be able to stop him on my own, put it out of your head. He kisses his girlfriend, Linda Park. She's crying, but Wally grits his teeth. He runs off to face off against his greatest enemy. Now, Wally and Reverse Flash run through the city, but that's when Wally eventually makes it to Reverse Flash, and he hits Reverse Flash in the back of the head. You hear a wham! Now, Reverse Flash falls to the ground, tumbles to the ground, but that's when Wally gets the helmet of Jay Garrick. He throws that Reverse Flash, you're at kush, but Reverse Flash catches it. Now, they start to exchange blows as they punch each other in the face. Now, Wally keeps punching Reverse Flash. He starts to overwhelm this villain. Reverse Flash is shocked. He's surprised that Wally is actually getting the better of him. Wally's finally gotten into his mind that he's not replacing his mentor, Barry Allen. He's becoming his own version of the Flash. He's coming faster, and he's going to save the city. He's going to save everyone from the Reverse Flash. Now, Reverse Flash runs off. He tries to get away, but Wally hits Reverse Flash into this Flash statue. Yeah, fa-tham! And that's when Reverse Flash throws the Flash symbol at Wally, but Wally catches it. You're a thack. Now, it's not about speed anymore. It's about endurance. Which speedster will last the longest? Now, Wally loses his footing as he slips in the rain. He says no. Reverse Flash hits him in the stomach with one of the legs of the Flash statue. Yo, wham! Wally falls to the ground. Reverse Flash goes up to him to finish him. He says, I'll give you this, West. You run one hell of a race. But now it's over. He goes to kill Wally. He says, you are his prodigy. Everything that remains of him is in you. Once you're dead, Barry Allen is gone forever. Say goodbye, Flash. Say goodbye to Barry Allen. Now, Wally, all he needs is 1 second. He needs a miracle. Now, that's when lightning strikes from the sky at the Reverse Flash. You're a krakoom! And that's when Wally, he's happy, says, thank you. And he starts punching Reverse Flash in the face multiple times. Reverse Flash says, stop. And Wally says, this is close to the finish line. Forget it. And that's when Reverse Flash falls to the ground. He says, please, no more. You can't do this to me. Wally says, oh yeah? Reverse Flash says, not to me. I'm Barry Allen. And Wally pulls Reverse Flash close. He says, is that so? Mister, I knew Barry Allen, and believe me, you're no Barry Allen. Wally punches Reverse Flash in this double page spread, this huge image. Reverse Flash falls to the ground. He begs for his life. Wally says, you're a pathetic little man who's finally gained what he deserves. How does it feel, Thawne? How does it feel to become a victim of your own obsession? He smacks Reverse Flash in the head. You're a thrack. And Reverse Flash falls to the ground again. Now, Wally says, welcome to Thesaurus Theater. You shook me right down to the ground, you rat bag. And if you think this hurts, rest assured, it's not a fraction of the pain you put me through. Now, Reverse Flash says, finish me off. Wally says, kill you? Put you out of your misery? You don't know what tempting offer that is. Right here, right now, no way. Why let you off so easy? He runs and gets the cosmic treadmill and gets it close to the Reverse Flash. He says, after all, wasn't it you who reminded me that all history is at my disposal, thanks to the treadmill? Maybe I'll use it to give you a taste of your own cruelty. Maybe I'll visit you when you were a young man and terrorize you the way you terrorized me. Or maybe I'll just kill you in your crib. Now, he starts riding the treadmill and Reverse Flash screams, no! And then he screams anymore, no! And that's when he gets on the treadmill and he disappears into time. And we see the treadmill with smoke coming out of it. Now, Wally says, sucker. Now, Hal Jordan Green Lantern comes in and smiles with Johnny Quick and Max Mercury at his side. He says, nicely done. You didn't actually time travel, I take it? Now, Wally smiles and says, no, frankly, I'm not sure I'm up to it. But I was able to hop off the treadmill so quickly that even Thawne couldn't see me hide. I tricked him. I set the time controls for the year 2460 and prodded his own terror into fueling the trip home. Now, Max says, so that's it? Thawne can't plague us anymore. Wally says, not us. No, we're safe. He won't even recall having been here. Now, Johnny Quick says, how can you be so sure? Wally says, because the space-time continuum isn't collapsing around us. We see Thawne. He returns to his regular time, and he sees his symbol, the Reverse Flash symbol, but he doesn't remember the fight with Wally West. He will die at Barry Allen's hands. He will die eventually. But for now, he's back where he's from. He's back in the 25th century. Now, Hal Jordan says, I used to say he was the greatest hero I ever known. He looks at a picture of Barry Allen. He continues to say, but that was before I saw a man put his life on the line just to preserve his legend. Now, Wally says, it was a debt of honor, and Hal says, then Mark get paid in full. Come on, let's go home. Now we go to the epilogue, and we see Wally. He's hanging out with Linda Park, his girlfriend. He's having a good day. He beat the greatest villain that Flash ever knew. Now, Hal Jordan, he's off doing his own thing. Max Mercury, he's off with the wind. We know that Johnny Quick went back to his corporation. Everything is going well. And what's best is nobody's calling Wally West Jr. anymore. Wally says, it took me a long time, but I finally come into my own. We see 2 Flash statues, one for Barry Allen and one for Wally West. Linda shows Wally, and she's happy. Wally's happy too. Now, he starts to walk through the city, and he looks at the biography of the Flash, and we see that this book is written by Iris West. She will return in a couple years, and that actually helps Wally. It's really nice. Wally thought she was dead. He knows that Barry's dead for sure. For now, right? In this storyline. But to know that Iris, his Aunt Iris, the one that he looked up to when he was a kid, it will be alive, will come back, really makes him happy. Now, Wally gets the book, and Max told him that the end of his story is in that book. It's written by Iris. But Wally thinks, and he says, forget. If there's an end to my story, I don't want to know it. History is something captured and owned by the pages of a book. But the future belongs to me. Now he holds Linda Park close as he looks out into the twin cities of Central and Keystone. He smiles, and the story concludes with him saying, my name is Wally West. I am the Flash. So, if you made it to the end of this video, guys, you got to hear the entire story of the return of Barry Allen. For one, give this video a like because you made it through, and I appreciate you because you listened to the whole story, and I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story a lot. It's one of my favorite Flash stories because it really shows how much of great of a character Wally West is, right? And we get a lot of characters from Max Mercury, Johnny Quick, Jay Garrick, Reverse Flash. There's a lot of different Flash characters that are very important that show up in the storyline. And honestly, if I was trying to get somebody into the Flash, right? One of my friends into the Flash as a character, and this is probably the storyline I would recommend them first. Because it's just so well written by Mark Waid, the art is fantastic, and it's not a super long story. You don't really have to know a lot to get into it. That's why we only covered like 7 issues, guys. There's a reason I didn't add in like a whole, like all the other storylines like Born to Run and that stuff, because you don't really need to know that to go into the storyline. All you need to know is, alright, Jay Garrick and Wally West's relationship a little bit, see Wally West and Linda Park's relationship, and then just know that Barry died and he's back, and it's really crazy, but it's not actually him, it's the Reverse Flash. So that twist really makes a big deal, and pushes Wally West to be the Flash that he needs to be, right? So yeah, guys, that's my thoughts on the whole storyline. If I'd have to give it a rating, I'd give this storyline a 9.5 out of 10. I definitely recommend it. If you don't have this in trade, guys, either get in trade, because I think that's the only way you can get it. If you find it in single issues, guys, like the single issues of Mark Waid's Flash run, like issue number 75, 76, that's awesome. Like, you can find that. Like, that's really cool. But if you can't, try to see if you can get in trade. That may be hard to find as well. But if you're able to get it, if you just see it at a comic book shop, snatch that, right? Because it's very valuable and it's a great story. But guys, here's an update on Flash Sundays. If you guys haven't been on this channel for a while, every Sunday I release a video on an issue from Mark Waid's Flash run. It's all about Wally West Flash, right? Because I still cover like Barry Allen Flash in like the New York comics, but I still want to get Wally West on this channel, and this is my way of doing that. But since we concluded the return of Barry Allen, and we have Wally West established now, I'm now going to fast forward a little bit and go to the storyline known as Terminal Velocity. Now, this is a storyline that starts in issue number 95 through issue number 100 of Mark Waid's Flash run. It's an amazing story, and we're going to be covering it every Sunday on this channel. But this upcoming Sunday, we won't be starting with part 1 yet. Instead, this upcoming Sunday, I'm going to do a video talking about Impulse, 0 Hour, and everything that gets you set up for that storyline. Because Terminal Velocity does build off of some, like, moments before it that we haven't covered yet, so I'm going to go over that and really go over the character known as Impulse, which, if you know him already, it's a pretty cool character, but if you don't know him, don't worry, we'll go over his character and his origin, and how he's going to be a big part in the upcoming storyline, Terminal Velocity, in the video coming out this upcoming Sunday. So stay tuned for that video, and a way to stay tuned for it is subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on it, and yeah guys, thank you for watching to the end. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys as Flash fans, and yeah guys, thanks for watching, and peace out.